never ever have enough time to play it all. You know everybody wants to walk in someone else's shoes. Everyone's forgot who they are. Such a grind.
Hello and welcome back to the Otter Creek in Rio Grande. I'm going to get started on some track work here in Cloud. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you kind of already know that I've done some things here, and I've got a pretty good idea of what the track plan is going to be. And I put in some turnouts just to kind of see what the parameters were as far as distance from here to the wall and what the track width was going to be. And, you know, I did it in a very shoddy way that didn't have a lot of functionality, but it kind of proved the distance so that I kind of know what's going on there. So what I'm wanting to do in the next, I'm guessing 4 hours is kind of what I'm allotting myself to do this particular project in, is I want to go ahead and lay these turnouts and some yard tracks in here in a way that's not permanent, but still has, you know, functionality that I can operate without getting frustrated. And the goal here, I guess, is to confirm track length, find out, you know, what is this going to look like with 3 or 4 tracks in there. I need a runaround, and I want 2 arrival and departure tracks. And I want to be able to do this without drilling any holes in the plywood, if I can keep from it at least as few as possible, so that I have a good idea of where the tortoises will be in the future. Now, in order to make that, I guess, as painless as possible, I went ahead and ordered some cork, and I want to share this because if you've watched the channel for a while, you know that I've used rolls of cork in the past, and I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with that cork because you never really know what you're going to get. Some of the cork might be, I don't know, milled or compressed in smaller pieces. Some of it's bigger, and so far everything's been, you know, the correct thickness. If you order 1/4 inch, you get 1/4 inch, but some of it just seems to be a little bit better than others, and you never really know until you get it. And I've hated dealing with the rolls of cork because it's just a pain in the butt. And then I was watching Dave Meek over at the Thunder Mesa Railroad, and he pointed out these 12-inch squares. So I purchased some of these, and I'm going to just real quick show you. The cork on these is really fine. So I really like that. And of course, it's just almost perfectly flat where you can just lay this anywhere on your plywood and there's no need to glue initially, which is really what I was after. So I want to be able to manipulate this cork in areas where I need it and then either confirm where it needs to be cut in the future or just leave it right where it's at without having to glue. Before I get started laying track, I thought I would point out a few modifications in my process. And, you know, I want to be clear that, you know, my process is my process. I'm not trying to sell this to anyone as if it's something you should do. It's just what I do. And the primary reason is I want to feel confident before I ever use any ballast or glue that the track work is what I want. You know, I haven't glued anything yet on the entire railroad, but you know, like Silver Gulch has been around for probably close to 3 years now. I haven't had to go back and really redo much of anything in Silver Gulch. I think I had one turnout that I replaced. But that's the reason why, is I want to feel really confident in what's going on with the design and the functionality of any turnouts and track work that I put in before I ballast. So one of the first things that I'm going to do a little bit different on this turnout than I have any others, and everything in Cloud right now, I don't want to put any tortoises in at the moment. So what that means is that I need an over center spring. And Fast Tracks explains how to do this on their website. And in my experience, this is a lot of trial and error. Getting the correct bend in the wire kind of directly in the center between the throwout bar and this first PCB tie is the trick. And then the other thing, I think Fast Tracks, I think they use 0.32 wire. I can't remember exactly what they use, but it's too heavy for a narrow gauge. So this is, I think, 0.22 or 0.23, whatever comes with a tortoise is what I'm using, and it seems to be just fine. So that's kind of the first thing that I'm doing a little bit different. And then on all of the turnouts that I'm making now, I've added this feature where I'm taking the juice from this rail, putting it on top of the PCB tie, coming across, and then dropping it back on this rail because that's the same polarity there. And then I'm doing the same thing here where the inside rail to the outside rail there. And that's just so that I don't have to worry about putting any feeder drops in any of the diverging rails from the frog. And the frog will be dead on everything I do in Cloud. For now, it shouldn't cause me too many problems. Most of my locomotives are a longer wheelbase, and they pick up juice in the tender, so I don't expect too many problems. Now, as far as how I do it, I take a series of drill bits and I drill holes in some of the PCB ties, and then the idea is that I'm going to go in and just secure any lateral movement in the turnout. I'm not wanting to really get aggressive and press these into the cork. I want no compression of the cork whatsoever. So, some of the tools I use for that, I've got a really good God hand bit that is not the right size, and then I chase it with another drill bit that's bigger. And what that does is it allows me to come in with a spike. I don't know if you can see that or not, and what I want is I want that spike to smoothly go in and out of that hole. I don't want any tension whatsoever. When this goes in, I don't want it to grab the PCB tie in any way at all. It just needs to be a nice smooth fit. Now, because the spike is metal and this transfers electricity, you can, in some cases, transfer the juice on this rail through the spike to the bottom of the PCB tie here, and then end up with a direct short if you're doing the same thing on the other side. So on any of them that I build now that I'm putting a spike through, I will put in a gap right there. And of course, that's a triangle file. A small triangle file is kind of the best tool for that. And as far as the bending of the over center spring, I use a variety of different tools for it. And again, it's just trial and error. So I've got a few more holes to drill into this, and then I'm ready, I think, to start putting some turnouts in. One thing I will point out that I failed to mention concerning the electrification of the diverging rails out of the frog. That wasn't my idea. I got that from Alan Loiseau and Empire Tracks Works. And this is what he recommended to me to make use of. And it's just flat wire that you can lay and bend and solder to the bottom of each of these. A really brilliant solution for not having to add any feeder drops in here, especially if you need to gap these rails and have them insulated for blocks or whatever else, for whatever reason you might not want electricity coming back in this direction for block detection. So what I've done is I'm basing everything off of this turnout here, mostly just because it's the one that I can get some juice to from the bottom side. And then I've marked where the main line is going to be. It's actually AD1, AD2 will be above it. And I'm going to start here and just kind of work towards get everything worked out. And all of these should be good to go. The main line is about 16 inches from this closest plywood to me. Pretty close. And many of these are already kind of ready to go right where they need to be. The only issue is wherever I have a over center spring, kind of despite my best efforts to get them flush with the bottom of the throwout bar, there seems to always be a little protrusion that grabs the cork. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the throwout bars are. I'm going to try and mark the center to the best of my ability. And I'm going to come in with a Dremel and remove just a little bit of the cork so that there's no chance that it will drag. That was one of the biggest frustrations I had with trying to do anything over here, was my over center springs were just not performing the way I wanted. And I kind of went back in and messed with them a little more, and I think they're all working pretty good now. I just got to get rid of a little of this cork. The entire battery of turnouts are in and ready to go, with the exception of kind of the one custom turnout that brings you into this particular track, the AD2 track. And what I want to do right now is I want to kind of double check my spacing. Going for a 2-inch spacing here. Looks like I'm pretty close. Looks like everything is still on the cork. This top track right here, hopefully you can see that. I'm not looking through the camera at all right now. I'm trying out a new mic, and I got a new boom stand, so hopefully some of what I do will be a little different, hoping it works. But this top track here, this is the engine service track. And so eventually this, when it gets constructed, will move all the way down there somewhere, and then there will be tracks that come off of here for coaling and sand and other things. So that's looking like that's going to work. I think it's time now to drop in this, which I haven't done yet. I would say that Maybe that needs to be a number 8. I don't know. Because it's canted off to the wrong direction. I will probably have to rethink this a little bit. It'll work for my purposes now. I think I need to clean off everything down there and extend the cork and see what's happening down there. Taking a look at the track plan, near as I can tell, from this throwout bar to where I will engage with the turnout at the very end of AD1, it needs to be about 51 inches in between there in order to have all of the angles work out to hit the reverse loop on the other end. So I think that's the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this track where that other turnout needs to go and start working on getting it lined up and put in. I went ahead and drove the 461 in there just to kind of see what it was going to look like. I've got the turnout marked up here. I mean, this is 51 inches, so that turnout needs to start right here somewhere. As it turns out, this full length of track right there happens to be right at 51 inches, give or take. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, now if I had another turnout that I could put in here, I could begin to connect the first yard track there, but I don't. And what should go in here is this turnout, but I don't think I'm going to mess with it at this point. I will be good just to come in right here with AD2 and call it good, because I need another. This will actually, if I remember the track plan, I think this needs to be of course you can't see it, but this is going to be a crossover connected to that. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to put this one in, but I went ahead and threaded on some plastic cross ties And voila, that should take care of that. So now I've got, this is my first yard track, 81, 82, and then this eventually will go to the passenger station, hopefully. The last thing that I want to do is lay some cork in here where the E-dabbler mine will go, or not mine, but mill, E-dabbler mill. And I want to do it in a way that also provides a little bit of road bed for AD2. I notice, well, no, that's, some of this cork is from a different package. I bought 2 packages of 16. And for the most part, it looks like they're all exactly the same, which is nice. Now I want to check the radius of this, but I don't want to do it until I get at least some cork in there temporarily. I don't know, I might as well start all the way up here. Maybe. I don't know about anyone else, but finding cork road bed, I kind of looked around the other night and did not have much luck finding Midwest HO scale cork road bed, which is what I need for the dual gauge. All right, that's pretty close. Now, I want to check this. This will be the next turnout that I build, and I've got it marked. I've got just a little nick in the top of the track here, right where the frog needs to be. Doesn't have to be perfect for my purposes right now, just to kind of check. Try and eyeball this. We'll lay that all the way back. And all I'm really wanting to do for this is to kind of help determine how much cork I need for this. That's probably close enough. Now, I need to mark kind of the same thing through here. Now, I'm pretty sure that, I hope this is on camera. Let me check my camera view. The dual gauge, I'm going to adjust the radius on it and it will probably come in. So as long as I'm close and outside the radius of the dual gauge here, should be fine. But before I cut anything, I want to throw the dabbler in there and make sure that it's still going to work. You can see one of the reasons why I'm wanting to adjust this radius is to give a little more standing room between the building and the track, because, you know, backing up to this is going to be an issue. If that's the kind of thing that you care about when you model, is believability of a scene. It's not make or break for me, but if I can have roads appear to and from in a way that would actually happen in reality, that's the best way to do it. All right, I think that's going to work for my purposes right now. A string of boxcars full of oats has now entered into the E. Carroll mill, and pretty much all of the track work that I had completed up to this point in this area temporarily is back to functioning at a much higher level than it was before. So I've run out of time this weekend and for the rest of the month as far as that goes. So the next time I find time to work here in Cloud City, I'm going to concentrate on arrival and departure track 2. And so I've got a couple of turnouts. I might make as many as 5 before I work on this again. I haven't decided for sure, but I'll get some more stuff done before I work on it, as far as turnouts go. Enough of me blabbering. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time on the Otter Creek in Rio Grande.